Hello, I'm Mary V. Today let's talk about playing on the E string. So let's take a look at ways to help with some issues that people have quite commonly on the E string. And one of them is a feeling of the E string being louder and needing to quieten it down and change the bow weight, and it sounds very harsh. So the first thing to think about is how tilted your violin is. If it's very, very tilted, then you're going to lose the advantage of gravity when you play on the E string. Because if you hold your bow like that, it feels very weightless. And if your if you're using a shoulder rest and your violin is very tilted, you don't get the advantage of gravity working with the bow and your arm that you do on the lower strings. And it might be too perpendicular like this. And you've got to use different muscles and everything to get any weight and sound and control on the E string. So one way to deal with that is to take your shoulder rest off so that your violin is flatter and resting on your collarbone. So in this exercise, let's use a lot of suspension of the arm and allow the weight of the bow to almost make the notes by itself. So gravity and the bow are really doing most of the work. So you can lift your last two fingers or the pinky if that helps the bow to feel a little bit more as if it's working on its own. So go to the A and the E and see if the E string is flat enough for gravity to work with that too. Okay, so when I put my shoulder rest back on, I really do have quite a lot of height there because I've got a long distance between my chin and the collarbone. But the back of the shoulder rest is really to tilt the violin, and the front is really to rest the violin on your chest there. So the tilt, just don't make it too much so that the bow is too perpendicular. Causes quite a lot of trouble, that. So that's the first thing. The next thing to have a look at is how you're holding the bow, what your bow hold is like. And if your fingers are very straight and a very curved wrist and your hand is pointing down the way and you're really holding the bow with the tips of your fingers, it's a lot more difficult to control the bow that way, actually. It's all right on one string, but when you're going onto another string using a down bow, it's a lot more difficult to control the bow this way. There's a sort of crucial moment when you're going onto the E string and your wrist is very curved, where it's very difficult to control it when you're near the heel. So that can make the playing on the E string rather difficult. So the answer is, and this is generally for all bowing, is really to curl your fingers much, much closer to the bow so that you can control the bow and the weight of the bow with your first finger. And I even push my hand forward and use the second knuckle, not that one, but this one here, the middle one, to actually hold the bow. And I curl my hand around, my finger around. So your hand is a different shape, obviously, from mine. I've got quite a small hand, and I find it very convenient to do that. But it is a good idea to have as much contact and have your hand as close to the bow as possible. And this can make just playing, changing string on all the strings a lot more difficult. So that's another thing to think about. Just try it. Again, using hardly any weight, and try putting your fingers a lot closer, and you'll suddenly find that changing string isn't such a difficulty. So the next thing to look at is the arm. When you're changing strings, normally the arm moves according to which string you're on, like this. I have to make the movement of my arm most efficient, because otherwise if I'm doing that and I'm moving the arm, the upper arm, too much, it's not very efficient. Instead, I just move my forearm. So try and make that a little faster. So there's two aspects to that little exercise. One is the tempo, making it really exact. And the other thing is not to bump or make the upper string any louder. And you can find the more you practice this, the more even you can make the two strings sound. So once you've got that on the D and the A, try it on the A and the E. So a great one is to just do the same exercise in the tip, the middle and the point. For example, something like this. You know, you can make up your own little exercises to start getting control of the bow. So getting the wave movement between the strings is one of the best ways to get the E string to come under control and be integrated into the other strings instead of being a sort of separate thing that you practice separately. So the bow hold and the bow action shouldn't really have to change for a special circumstance like playing on the E string. Really, the bow hold should be created to be able to do anything. Play on the G string or the E string, play on, play off, play at the heel, play at the tip. Do anything you want with it. So it's worthwhile having a look at your actual bow hold and the movement of the arm. Because if you're doing something like that and it's very jumpy and rigid, it's time to think about maybe improving that. So there's just a few things about the E string that may help you, and I hope it does help. So I hope you enjoy your experiments, and I'll say bye-bye for now.